Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is the Beer Guys Radio Show. This is a big day. I forgot. I didn't mention it before this, Brian. Do you know what episode number this is for us?
I have an idea. What number is it, Tim?
I'm going to tell you, Harpoon crew, thank you for joining us. You are our lucky guest on our 300th episode of Beer Guys Radio. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. 300 episodes, Brian. That's a lot of beer talk.
It is. That's 300 hours, right? Something like that.
Right around that. Yes.
Ish.
Yeah. And that's official episodes. We've done mini episodes, bonus episodes, and all that.
Yeah.
But 300 episodes total that this will be. So lots of stuff, lots of beers drank too.
A lot of beer consumed, a lot of beer chattered about. So yeah,
absolutely.
Excellent.
Facebook, YouTube, thank you for joining us for this live stream. Again, we are talking with Harpoon Brewing. We definitely appreciate them joining us. And let me make sure I get all the names right. We have Al Marzi. The title we're going to use so we don't have to censor it is Chief Brewing Officer, right, Al?
That'll work for
That's the one. That's the one there. We have Mike Kelly, Hollywood, as they call him there. He is a senior brewer with Harpoon. And we have Megan Baker, which is Harpoon's Director of Digital Strategy there. So thanks for joining us, y'all. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having
us.
Absolutely. They said they've been tailgating for the show.
For like 5 hours.
As you should.
Well, they are at a brewery, so their workday is kind of tailgating in a way.
It is.
Yeah.
You have to do it. You gotta check the quality there. Research and development and quality.
A lot of quality control to do. Yes.
And we just got into one here. We're into Rec League, starting off with some Harpoon Rec League. And we're gonna drink a lot of hops.
We are. Yes. We've got a lot of hops ahead of us.
It is going to be a good time. Seth, thank you for joining us. Seth, thanks so much. We're good. We're good. So, yeah, we thank you for joining us, man. Good time.
Excellent.
Mr. Stephen Pete, thank you, sir. Kettle Rock Brewing. Stephen always joins us, man.
He's always here. Chatting
with Stephen. Stephen, we're like best buddies. We hang out every week virtually, so it's a good time. We're best friends now.
Wasn't he watching last week and it was his birthday? That's what he wanted to do.
Watching on his birthday. I love that so much. It's good stuff.
Happy birthday again, even though it's a week past.
That is it. Well, good deal. If you have any other questions or anything, please do post them in the comments here. We're going to get started here recording the show. Harpoon, ready to go on the radio?
Ready to go.
Absolutely.
Let's do this.
All right.
Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys Radio Show.
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
Dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yo, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Brian Hewitt.
And welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We're broadcasting from the Beer Guys Radio Studios in Marietta, Georgia. And this week, we're talking with Harpoon Brewing. I'm Tim Dennis, and with me, as always, is my good friend and co-host, Brian Hewitt.
Hey, Tim. Joining us today, we have Al Marzi, the Chief Brewing Officer for Harpoon. We've got Mike Kelly, also known as Hollywood, the Senior Brewer, and Megan Baker, the Director of Digital Strategy. And I don't know why I've had trouble with that every time I've tried to say it. Yeah, I don't know. I made it through. So we're going to talk about the evolution of IPAs, employee ownership, emerging ingredients, and collaboration beers. Guys, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. We have an exciting announcement, Brian. 300th episode of Beer Guys Radio.
Indeed.
Right here, right now. Thank you to everyone that has rode along with us here. It's been a good time, man. We're going on
a heck of a ride.
We're going to roll into 6 years here pretty soon.
Is it 6? Yeah.
That we've been doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess
that's how those numbers work.
That math checks out. I had to do it in my head. I'm like, was it 6 or 7? I don't know. Sometimes it feels like 7.
Who knows? There's been a lot of beers between.
Yes. It's hard to keep track of it all.
Absolutely. Brian, you found some interesting news out. And Megan, I think this is probably your topic as Director of Digital Strategy there. But we found some interesting information on some social media stuff involving beer.
Yeah.
And Brian, I believe you had said that inexplicably, Instagram is just deleting beer pictures from brewery pages, correct?
Yeah. So they're just pictures of beer and pictures of cans of beer, and they're being flagged, they're being removed, censored, and the breweries. And this is reported by the was it the Independent in UK? They'd confirmed it with like half a dozen different breweries that just has randomly happened. The breweries have tried to appeal it or ask about why, and they have no idea why. They're not getting any answers, and it's disappearing. And some of the breweries are getting threatened with having their accounts removed if they continue to get flagged,
but don't know why, right?
But they have
Okay.
no idea
All right.
why. And we're talking about seriously like cans of beers for like beer releases, like, hey, we're
Fun.
releasing this stout, come on Friday, it'll be there. I'm like, boom, flagged and gone.
Okay.
Crazy.
Megan, have you experienced any craziness like that with social media and beer?
We thankfully have not experienced that with our brewery, but I have seen some local breweries in New England that have. I want to say Vitamin C Brewery had that happen to them. And
Okay.
it's a big problem because a lot of these, especially smaller craft breweries, rely on social media for pretty much all of their marketing because it's a really cost-effective and efficient way to reach your fans. So if it continues to be a problem, it's definitely going to be a big issue for a lot of craft brewers trying to let people know about their beer releases.
Right. And that's something, that was what I was going to ask, but you kind of addressed that. Social media is important. It's not the days of when it was, AOL instant messenger or what have you. It's an important outlet for a lot of people. I know for us, Brian, there's no way we could have grown the way we did without social media.
For sure.
That was key to our growth. So, and I've seen things, Megan, talking about Instagram, Facebook, and that I told Brian I went to run a Facebook ad and it had our logo in it, and our logo has our name, Beer Guys Radio. And it was rejected for, quote, too much text in the ad. And I wish I could remember what the ad was, but someone wrote an article that Facebook approved. And I remember thinking, well, they can add that, but not mine.
They had a lot of text in theirs. Is that what you're saying?
Too much text.
Okay.
I guess so, man. I guess so.
They were
That's
probably offering more money because that's really,
Yeah.
Follow the money. That's really where it goes.
Right.
So now technically, I think that, and I didn't go through the terms of the use of Instagram, but officially they have a policy against promoting alcohol, but they have, it's well documented, it's well known that they allow, breweries, people that are producing a product to actually show off their product in a way to promote it for themselves. So it's a really weird thing. Like they've got weird standards that they don't really enforce, but sometimes maybe randomly enforce. I think that you were saying this, maybe this could be somebody being malicious and flagging
Just
things,
reporting,
getting people on a campaign of reporting different things to suppress and
a teetotaler.
Yeah. Like a neo-temperance movement or a neo-abolitionist movement. Apparently these things exist. There are people that want to outlaw it, which I don't know. I don't understand. It didn't work out too well the first time, let's say.
Yeah, we've been there, done that. Yeah.
See, right. Yeah, we've done that already. No more. Have you had any issues with people? Have you ever got angry emails or anything from people?
Not really. I think,
Okay.
I think we do get a lot of requests though from folks who maybe used to be a beer drinker and now looking for like a non-alcoholic option. So we definitely get that request a lot, and it's certainly something that we're exploring. I think a lot of breweries are right now. But never someone being like, "Why do you sell beer?" Like it's why we exist.
Yeah.
But on the internet, everyone's gonna have a problem with something. So
absolutely. And
what you're guessing.
What a great place to voice it behind the anonymity of the internet, right?
Exactly,
That's the way to go. I was at a brewery one time when he received like a 6-page handwritten letter from someone who was reformed, born again, just telling them about the evils of alcohol, producing it, drinking it, not just, they were against it, but quoting verses and stuff to tell them how evil it was. And it was written in a kind-hearted way, like a warning. Like they cared about the person.
It's like a well-researched paper.
Yeah.
So
fun.
why is it that you never get angry letters where somebody's complimentary? I'm very angry that you make a great product.
That's right. It's too great. I want to drink it so much.
I hate you so much for making such a good thing. I'd like to see more of that angry, but also positive.
Angry happiness. Is
angry
that possible?
Yeah. Why not?
Aggressively happy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Like
aggressively happy.
That's probably a beer name, or it should be.
Could be. It should be. That's right.
So Tim, let's get into the beers of the week.
Brian, as always, a great list of beers to get into, and we want to thank our friends at the Nest in Kennesaw, Georgia, for sponsoring this segment. craft beer barbecue, Brian. Have you ordered your Christmas ribs yet?
I haven't yet. No.
Okay. Well, you need to. You need to get them in there early and make sure you have a nice.
Well,
rack
you
of
know,
ribs
I'm
for
getting the
Christmas.
Christmas smoked wings. So
That's
yeah.
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
the ribs probably too, but definitely the smoked wings.
Absolutely. It's the way you do it. Absolutely. The beers this week, Harpoon Brewery, we have Rec League, which we are sipping on right now. Then we're going to go up, Brian, to the big leagues with Big League. We have Harpoon IPA, the classic, and the Imperial IPA, Brian.
Yes.
So it's all about delicious hops this week for our beers.
I'm happy about this.
Yeah, I know. No complaints at all from you.
That's
You're all
right.
about the hops. Sure
That's
enough.
exactly what I was hoping for.
Well, Brian, do you have any news to share with us this week?
Well, I do, yes. So we've got, speaking of non-alcoholic beers, and we were just talking about them, we've got an NA scandal this week in the news. According to Brewbound, a civil lawsuit alleges that Heineken misled consumers with their Heineken 0.0. The name and labeling led customers to believe that the non-alcoholic beer had absolutely no alcohol in it, though allegedly it actually clocks in at 0.03%. So is that 0.003%? I believe that's right.
Wouldn't that technically still make it 0.0?
Yes, exactly. If you were to
All right.
round it up, yes, any kind of rounding
Right,
at
exactly.
all,
Yeah.
it would still be 0. So if it's true, it still lands the beer well within the acceptable range for the non-alcoholic label, even if it's not strictly alcohol-free, I guess. A spokesman for Heineken acknowledged that the company knew about the lawsuit and said they were confident in the merits of their side of the case, but they didn't have any other comment. So the Heineken website for the product does mention a very small amount of alcohol in 0.0, but it's buried pretty well down in the page, and there's a lot of text that implies heavily that there's nothing in it at all. But again, we're talking about 0.003% of alcohol in this.
You know, I saw someone post online one time, and they made a comment that they needed the beer that was truly alcohol free, that they could not have any alcohol. And someone commented that a lot of foods have that can have your kimchi, you know. So
that's exactly what one of the things that was mentioned is as part of the things that they have. Like, this is on par with the natural alcohols you will find present in foods. Just anything that's fermented at some point, it may have lingering traces of alcohol in it.
Right.
Sauerkraut's, kimchi, bread, obviously.
How much sauerkraut would you have to? Have you ever got drunk on sauerkraut? Because I think if anybody could do it, it would be you.
No, I haven't.
Bit of a fanboy.
Well, let me just state the possibly the obvious. I do have a fairly good tolerance when it comes to alcohol, so it would take a lot
of kraut, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I have enough room in my belly for that amount of kraut.
Fair enough.
I can't even imagine what that would do to me digestively. But
no.
I mean,
the rest of the people on the block.
Yeah. Exactly right. Exactly. Well, let's see. We've got some fantastic news, Tim. Craft beer is on track to take back some shelf space from hard seltzer in 2022. This, according to Drizzly's Bev Alcohol Insights retail reports. They surveyed 500 retailers in November, and while around 50% said they will be stocking more hard seltzer next year, 57% said they'd be devoting more space to craft beer, and 23% said they planned on stocking less hard seltzer, period, in 2022. Only 8% of respondents said the same thing about craft beer. So it's looking good for beer. We're going to take back some of that space from hard seltzer. It's going to be amazing.
No arguments here. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Be a good time. Well, you're listening to the Beer Guys radio show. We will be right back with Harpoon Brewery.
I don't know if you noticed how far out of frame you were. I couldn't because
So I didn't get to it in that, but
kraut.
RTD, the RT ready to drink things, that's gonna about 60% are saying they're gonna stock more of that.
RTDs.
I would love it if RTDs and craft beer just threw hard seltzer completely out and overtook that section,
there,
and they could split the domain in half. Because I'm down with the RTDs. I'm done with the seltzer movement though.
Al, does Hollywood do, or does Harpoon do seltzers?
Hollywood does a lot of stuff.
Hollywood does, right? Hollywood's the seltzerman.
Actually, Harpoon does make a seltzer in conjunction with a polar beverage. We make Arctic Chill.
Okay. There you go. Yep. Let's.
So I'm down with all of them except that one. That one's fine.
There we go.
That one, yeah,
I'm okay with
you're
that
good
one.
with that one, huh?
And we do also work in the RTD space as well. We
Sure.
have an awesome collaboration with Whistle Pig. So we have this Piggyback Rye Smash in a few different flavors. So we collaborate with them
Nice.
quite regularly on some beer projects. But, you know, I agree with what you're saying. I think the RTD space is definitely going to continue to grow in 2022
Sure.
for sure.
I
Yeah, we
think that's
started with Whistle Pig using their barrels, doing a lot of barrel aged different products that were amazing, and then it kind of segued
Yeah.
into this RTD.
Don't we have a bottle of Piggyback in our?
We do.
in
We
our
have a
little
bottle of
stack? Yeah,
Piggyback
so
over
we've
there,
got
yeah.
a small liquor cabinet, we'll call it, liquor counter.
yeah. I have
But
even
there's some Piggyback over there.
I have even more Whistle Pig at home. I am a big
Yeah.
fan of their rye and the various versions of it. I don't even remember
The
which
various
ones which
things,
all
yeah.
I have.
Do you have any Boss Hog?
No,
Nah.
I've had it,
Not
but
yet.
I don't I've never had a bottle, but I've had the Boss Hog at places. It's
Now is that
little
the one
priced
that's
out
like
of
600-700, or is it?
well when
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
first
that's
had
what I
it,
thought.
it was around $300 a bottle, but now it's
Yeah.
probably $500, $600, $700 a bottle. Which,
What was
Yeah.
the red breast that Anthony Story shared with us?
oh, that was the
30?
30? I think that's 30.
So the closest we've got to something in that range is we have a buddy who's a big red breast fan, and for his wedding, his friends went in and got him a bottle of this red breast 30, and I forget what it was, a special cask finish and all that, but
yeah, that might have been like a sherry cask finish
Yeah,
or something like that.
it retails for $600 or $700, you know. And I will say this, man, I've had some expensive spirits that I did not think backed up their price tag. I think this one almost did. I mean, it's hard to say 6, 7, but it was phenomenal. So,
I had him looking because he had a connection, and I said, well, you know, if you find it, I'll buy one.
Yeah.
You know, I was kind of hoping he didn't find it because I really didn't want to spend that kind of money on a
Right.
single bottle. But at the same time, I'd love to have a bottle.
Yeah.
Of that.
Al, is Boss Hog, is that your daily sipper?
I wish.
Yeah,
I don't have.
right.
We did luck out because after they did the Boss Hog, they gave us the barrels. and
Okay.
Clown Shoes is one of our other brands, and we
Mhm.
put some beer in it. It was a South American teak, and it had these notes of cinnamon and vanilla that were just from the cask. And
See,
it was
yeah.
everyone's like, you put spice in. You're like, no. We aged it in these barrels, and it was amazing.
Yeah, we also have a beer called the Boss Hog. We're gonna have to send you a bottle of that. That was aged in the Boss Hog barrels as well. So
Don't twist
yeah.
our arms too much there. Yeah.
Coming to you.
Don't
All
threaten me
right.
with a good time. I do have a couple of different bottles of Whistle Pigs, the old world rye, which is a split between 3 different casks. And when they were first coming out with it, they had like different individual ones to get people to try them out. And I forget what they were. There was like a Sauternes barrel. I think it's a port barrel. That all Sauternes one, which they didn't wind up going with, was amazing. But
Right.
their blend that they came up with was also very good. So,
Right. You know, so mentioning seltzer, Steven mentioned that they call it base layer, is their unflavored seltzer.
Oh, yeah.
And they put the flavors in there at the brewery. And I think we had, Steven, I think we did your Hawaiian. I know we had the Hawaiian version. I think you brought some of that, Brian.
I think that's not seltzer. That was a base Berliner, right?
Was that the Berliner?
That was a
we had with
Berliner, I
that?
think. Yeah, that was a Berliner, not
I'm
the,
mixing up
seltzer.
my brews here. I thought it was the base layer. I
It's-
guess same concept, probably.
He makes a good point. The vanilla extract, which is used in a lot of cooking, he says about 40% alcohol
exactly.
in it. I mean, it makes sense because
That's why they come in the airplane bottles, though.
Exactly.
Vanilla, you can just
so when you're
shoot 'em
shooting
right up there.
it'll get you just enough to get you a good buzz.
Now, if you've ever tasted straight vanilla extract,
I haven't.
it's not the way you want to go. Not yet.
Now that
There's
I know
always
about
time.
it. Yeah.
There's always time. Absolutely. Good stuff. All right. Let's talk about Harpoon. Let's do this. Let's get back into radio. And Nate, you ready to get us right? Yes, sir. Do you have a question? We need another beer. Should we go up to Big League now? Or
Yes,
is there
absolutely.
to Big League? Okay. Big League is next.
All right.
Rec League, Big League.
Well, since Steven's here, I'm going to say I'm okay with his seltzer too, though. I don't know if I've had his seltzer. Did we have? I think it was the Berliner.
Big League.
Pretty sure it was just his Berliner.
Big hops and big haze, Brian.
All right.
That Reg League was really tasty. I enjoyed that.
I didn't even realize it was just 4% too. 120 calories and 4%. Tim.
See?
Yeah.
There
how
you
about
go.
that?
There we go. Have some big. You know what? I want a little more. I want a little more. I don't think I got my fair share here. I'm going to take a little more and then pass it around.
So I was was doing some holiday shopping. Right?
Yes.
And the Miller Coors Dive Bar Gingerbread House.
Yep.
Did you-
sold out, man?
Sold
Did you
out.
guys see that? The Miller Coors did a gingerbread house dive bar.
That sounds
And-
amazing.
I love it.
Yeah.
I would go.
They sold it on their website, and I think it sold out within like minutes.
I think it was like-
as soon as they launched it.
Was it
So,
50
yeah.
bucks or something like
50
that? I don't
bucks
remember.
for a
Yeah,
gingerbread
yeah.
house or
So-
gingerbread bar.
Also did Christmas ornaments that you can like fit a beer into. I think I saw that on the news this morning.
I'm about that. Count me
Yeah,
in for that
yeah.
too. Yep.
They just need adapters that just will take a beer can and just attach a hook to it that you can hang it on a tree.
Yeah.
Yep. Then you need a way to like put a sleeve around to keep it cold, so you just pop an ornament off the tree.
Exactly. Pop one off, crack it open. It's been like eating fruit off a tree.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
The most wonderful time for a beer.
Absolutely. Brian, you ready?
Yeah, I think so.
Harpoon team ready to get back to the radio? Let's do this.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Cannonball coming.
Now, back to the Beer Guys radio show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Remember, all episodes are available on demand. So if you missed the broadcast, get the podcast. Beer Guys Radio is available on all popular and unpopular podcasting apps. Now let's get back to Harpoon Brewery.
Harpoon Brewery. We are drinking right now Big League IPA. Stepping it up, Brian. We got called up to the bigs.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about it, but we were drinking Rec League before. 4%, 120 calories. Had no idea it was that light.
Yeah,
I was down
absolutely.
with it completely. Yeah.
You know,
Enjoyed
Al, I'm not sure, so I want to ask this question to verify. But are you a hophead? Do you like hoppy beers?
You know, I've sort of evolved. I was always more of a malt guy, and
Okay.
kind of moved into hops over the years. For me, it's not always just getting smacked in the face with the hops, but I like different blends and doing a lot of these unfiltered beers where we've added hops during warm fermentation and ending up with biotransformation taking place and
Right.
getting completely different floral aromas has been a lot of fun for me. So I do like hops.
Do like hops. Hops approved. But, you know, I'm equal opportunity with most beers, Brian. Unless they're too bitter, then they can just throw them in the trash. But other than that, you know, there's great stuff out there. And I'm like you, Al. I love a good malt profile in a beer. And whether we had a really nice Pilsner from our friends at Good Word a couple of weeks ago, and you could really tell the malt character that it defined that beer. You know, it wasn't just a Pilsner, and it was nice. Vienna lagers, all that ESBs.
Yeah.
I'm in.
You know, I was just thinking he's saying he started off on the malt end of things. I did as well, actually.
Sure.
Like, if you go back far enough, if you've been drinking long enough, the industry was more like you had ambers were your hoppiest thing, and I drank a lot of porters, ESBs, and hops were, I mean, they were basically a bittering agent. They weren't there so much for flavor, especially when you were drinking some of the brew pub beers I was drinking back in the 90s. They were all
Wasn't about that.
no,
Right.
not really. Red ales,
Yeah.
porters, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Now, Al, I know Harpoon has a long history. How long have you personally been with Harpoon?
I've been with Harpoon for 30 years.
30 years. Okay. And we see here in the research, we found that they got the first brewing permit ever issued in Massachusetts back in 1986. It's funny we talk about craft beer and history. 86 is ancient history for a lot of craft beer,
Yeah,
with a few exceptions.
Yeah. I don't think we were alive yet. I know I was.
Okay. I'll just say that. I'll leave it at that.
I wasn't yet drinking beer at that
I'll
point
leave
in
it at
time,
that.
but I was definitely around.
Yeah, no, Mike Nate is shaking his head. This
No.
youngin, he wasn't around.
I
yet
wasn't on
either.
the radio back then either, but I mean, I
Yeah.
guess that kind of goes with the territory of not drinking the beer, right? So,
Right.
yeah, that's so the first permit they issued in 1986 was, so were they not issuing permits like pre-prohibition? Was there never a brewery in
Since
in state?
Prohibition. After Prohibition, we were the first license issued.
Ain't that something?
Okay.
That's amazing stuff.
And then we
'Cause-
started producing beer in June of '87. And it's, as you said, Brian, it was Harpoon Ale was an amber ale. That was what started to put us on the map, and that's what we made until 1993 when we came out with Harpoon IPA, and it was a complete departure because there were suddenly hops. And in fact, a lot of us didn't think it was going to take off because 42 IBUs, oh my God, it's just so bitter.
So bitter.
Yeah, 42 of those.
Well, I'm sure, Al, you probably do. I don't know about the other young ones in the crowd there, but do you remember the Keystone beer commercials about the bitter beer face?
Yep.
So they really market bitter was bad. You know, they really over exaggerated this bitter beer face. You weren't supposed to do that.
And I think that is part of the reason why the extreme bitter beers, the extreme bitter IPAs, high IBUs became such a thing. You know, you had the pendulum swings back and forth. So we had the extreme bitterness of IPAs after that being the worst thing ever. And now we're back to a point where bitter beers are a bad thing again. So we want tropical notes. So I'm guessing at some point we'll be back to bitterness.
Just keep going around. Keep going around. Mike, how long have you been with Harpoon?
5 years this month.
Okay. Now,
thank you. 5 years.
I'm imagining Al just kicks back and takes it easy now. You're probably the one doing all the hard lifting out there, right?
Yeah.
See?
Come on.
Sorry.
For the recognition that I deserve. Thank you.
There you go, man. There you go. You know, so we know Mitch Steele, he has New Realm Brewing here in Atlanta. In Mitch's office, he's got a guitar and an amp and stuff in there. I'm like, do you work, Mitch? Do you just sit in there, you know, strumming the guitar? But
I gotta take a page out of Mitch's book.
See, right, right. But he's also has his brew house control panel in there too, so he can keep it working.
He can push buttons in between chords. Yeah, it's like,
right. Yeah,
it is a nice setup they have there. So
it is. But
worse, like in marketing, a derogatory term for us is carpet walkers.
Okay.
Because there's carpeting in our offices. That was like a phrase I've had in a couple of breweries I've worked for. So it could be worse.
I think in any company, every division or group, you have your things with the other. You know, my day job is recruiting. I'm in the staffing industry, and you have your sales and operations team, administrative, and everybody thinks the other is doing it wrong or that they're slacking, they're the hardest. So I think that's just kind of the way it goes there. Yeah.
Everybody assumes that everybody else is not doing their job.
Exactly. That's it. They're not doing their job.
I mean, I have evidence when I say it, but
I'm doing my job. It's everybody else. Yeah.
Everyone assumes sales is off playing golf and not actually.
That's it. Which is usually true.
That's probably true. Well, they may be doing deals out there, but they are out there playing golf.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, talking of IPAs, 35 plus years I mean, there's just been so many changes in what we've seen there. It's just evolved so much. Like you talked about when you first started brewing, you didn't do the hops, you didn't do bitter. And at one time, 42 IBUs was a big deal. And then I remember what would have been early 2000s, the IBU wars. How many IBUs can you get into a beer?
Yeah.
And I think
even later than that, it was I think that was all throughout the 2000s. I think it grew towards the end of the 2000s, in fact.
Mickler had like 1,000 IBU beer, so they claimed and all of this stuff. But
they did studies to determine that people could not taste IBUs beyond about 100, I think is what it was. So
right.
Everything, all the rest of it was just, bragging.
So what are your thoughts just on the evolution, kind of where we were, where we've come? What do you think of the modern day IPA scene?
Well, I think it's interesting. As you said, it's completely evolved, and we've gone from beginning to get some aromatics in the beer through dry hopping to West Coast IPAs that really push the boundaries on bitterness, where it was just over the top. The New England IPA is an interesting one where you've got this softer palate and these tropical aromas, and now it's really trying to find specific hops that act differently. And Mike spends a lot of time working with different hops that come in and hop products like isomerized hop extract or hops oil or whatever you can do to get something that's a little bit different. And I think that, for us, it's always been, we've always wanted balance. IPA was always balanced, Harpoon IPA rather. Big League, yes, it's got a lot of hops in it, but it also has a malt finish to it. As we go forward, we've never looked for pushing the hop boundaries too far. But really, it's finding something that's pleasant and maybe a little bit different. And that's where we've got a 10-barrel pilot system, and Mike and the other brewers here have, carte blanche to experiment with how different yeasts act with different hops.
Sure. And we're loving as consumers seeing all these fun hops that are coming out there. And I feel like I'm just dropping names right now, but Stan Hieronymus. Stan used to live in Atlanta, since moved on to Denver, but we talked to him a few times, and he talked to us about the science of hops and brewing with hops, stuff way over our head. But, I've seen his articles that he publishes, and we're talking like a whirlpool of 1 to 2 degrees difference can make this massive difference in what comes out in your finished beer. You're looking at something that's thousands of years old. There's still new things being found that can impart better flavors or keep the onions out of your beer,
or just different. So, just magnify different flavor compounds.
Absolutely. Our innovation brewer, Tom Graham, was one of the ones that came up with the idea of dropping the temperature. We put it through a heat exchanger to go back into the whirlpool. And he hit on that a couple of years ago just to try and get some different attributes in the beer.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool stuff. Speaking of the evolution of IPA and the way we use hops, has Harpoon IPA, has it changed at all over the years, the brewing of it?
As you know, the raw materials change every year. The hops are going to change every year. The malt changes a little bit. We've always kept the final product as consistent as possible. But over the years, we have changed some of the processes or some of the raw materials in order to keep it consistent.
Okay, so the end goal is the same. Yeah,
that's what Harpoon IPA has to be. Harpoon IPA every single time you have it.
That's something that I noticed until just recently. You didn't hear breweries talking much about like terroir, and it impacting, but it is something that they're looking at now. Interesting stuff, fun to talk about. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We do need to take a break, but we'll be back very soon with more from Harpoon Brewery.
Oh God, I was afraid that idiot friends were going to be like, "Hey, good," and it's going to be
fun stuff.
Indeed.
It's we're seeing all these new beers coming out with the HBC hops. Hops don't even have a name yet, and seeing what they're brewing with. It's fun to see what's coming along.
Random breeding programs to come up with experimental new things.
That's what they're working on, to keep coming up with the next new thing, because particularly within the New England IPA, there's a lot of times you're like, oh, you've got Mosaic and Citra, and you're like, one of them tastes like the next. I wasn't going to say that on there, but being able to differentiate yourself and go, hey, you know what? This is a new beer. This isn't, you go in and it's a random New England IPA, whatever. It's all going to taste the same.
Yeah. Yep.
Speaking of, you'd mentioned Stan Hieronymus and the various hops and things that people are using. His big thing in something he wrote up recently was he thought that people were missing the boat on Brewer's Gold. It's like a hop that's been around forever, but it has characteristics that are very popular these days, and people aren't using it. Have you done much with Brewer's Gold?
Actually, just recently, and I'm trying to remember which product it was. That was one of the ones that we used, and it was. Again, it's been around forever, but typically use it as a bittering hop or just kind of a middle of the brew hop.
Right.
Again, now that people are realizing about biotransformation and dry hopping warm, or using it really, really late in the whirlpool if you drop the temperature, it definitely imparts some different flavors that aren't typical in some of the other hops.
See, interesting. I love reading things that are over my head, to be honest, Al, to something that's outside of my knowledge that maybe I don't understand the full scope of it, but I get the gist of it. And I'm always amazed with, wow, change this 2 degrees, do this. We were talking with them about like hopping at different altitudes and, how brewing at different altitudes and how the brew point will change hop utilization and how much has to be used. And, there was a chart that it got pretty substantial, a beer brewed in Denver and one brewed in, say, New Orleans you're gonna need two totally different ways to get that.
I think,
to get the same beer.
Yeah, the one in New Orleans I think would wind up extracting more of the bittering compounds probably during the boiling, because just the boil temperature would be higher, right? It's lower higher up, so you'd actually get slightly less bitter, possibly less utilized hops higher up, I would think. So.
And it can become substantial.
Yeah,
if you're
doing big enough batches, of course.
And messing around with pH can do
right.
Just dropping it a little bit.
Yep. That's talking about enzymes. Like I know enzymes in the mash are a big deal now, getting those out and getting your enzymes. So
and water chemistry is a whole other thing.
Brewing with enzymes. Turn the temp down, turn it up, flip it around.
Exactly. There's a lot of variables involved in it.
Flip it and flop it. Yeah,
that's right.
That's what you got to do.
It's amazing to think about how they brewed, hundreds of years ago without any knowledge or any.
I want to time travel back to those saisons made at the farmhouses. There. I want to see what was that beer. What was that beer that they're doing there?
Now,
Yeah.
For 1,000 years.
Right.
What was the same brewery for 1,000 years? What is it? What was it like 1,000 years ago?
Exactly. Yeah. And hell, I want to try like an 1800s English porter.
Yeah.
What? I imagine
it would be,
there's a little more funk to that.
I was going to say it'd be a little bit more sour, a little more funky than you might expect. Yeah. I think that the Norwegian farmhouse sales might be, and we don't have a lot to go by still, even though we've got the yeast in terms of flavor, but I imagine those would have been similar because that Quake yeast is still what you use, and it works.
Right.
It works in almost any temperature, and it works well. So. My guess is those would probably be more consistent than a lot of stuff that we'd see over the years. They were fermenting things in like wooden vats too, so you had all sorts of fun bacteria in there. So
no telling.
Yeah.
Cool it down by swirling a shoe in
exactly.
It,
they didn't know about they didn't know about sanitation and that sort of thing. It's like so it'd either be amazing, it'd either get you drunk or it'd make you blind, or maybe both. You never know.
It's just going to be a good time until you get there.
Roll the dice, see what happens.
What was it? Wasn't it mid 1800s before they even really discovered that yeast was a thing? That before that it was just, we just do this and it becomes beer. We don't know how, but
get a sugar water out, and
that's it, man. That's it. We were talking about going back in time. I want to go to the guy that discovered beer because I guarantee he was a hero in his village. The first guy that they left, he saw that funky grain water that had foamed up. He's like, oh man, I left the grain out and it rained in it. I'm going to get in so much trouble. Oh my God, it's foaming. Oh man.
We drink some of that. I'm thirsty.
And then, hey guys, guess what?
Yeah.
So the hero of the village.
He probably.
That feels great.
He was probably told when he did that, so no food or water for you for today. He's like, if you want something, you can eat and drink that grain over there. And they saw him later on. He's laughing and singing and such. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
What happened?
Don't you worry about it. No, I'm being punished.
It's like, no, it's fine. I'll take my punishment.
Yeah, I deserve it.
He starts laughing.
Yeah. Just see now. I want to make a mockumentary about the discovery of beer.
Well, and from the I think that was the Dark Lager show, the Icebox. The idea of that was they left a barrel out and it froze over, and I think that they ruptured the barrel and they were trying to get it free,
save some liquid,
and
right?
they found the liquid inside it and they tasted it. It was like, oh my goodness, this is the most amazing thing ever. Immediately hammered.
Real minute genius.
That's
from
right.
The Paleozoic era.
A number of years ago.
It's just because one dude was lazy. Sometimes laziness is a good thing.
I think a few homebrewers have accidentally brewed an Icebox, with a faulty temp controller or something. I think I had an Icebox blueberry saison one time. So
yeah.
Yes.
It happens. Good stuff. Right. Oh darn, not this again. Dude, why do your kegs always freeze? So
definitely more common in Boston than Atlanta.
See, you got a better excuse than we do. We really have to work at it here.
Exactly. It's like it hasn't frozen in months. How is this even possible? I don't know. I really don't know.
God works in mysterious
That's right.
ways, Brian. All right, we are pouring us some Harpoon IPA.
Harpoon.
All right, please get one out. Do you want one? Are you ready for another one? Or are you still working?
Almost.
Okay. Let's get a couple out here. Why not? Yeah. I can't wait for you guys to try the Imperial IPA. I tried it the first time today. It's awesome.
Okay,
We just had it today when, I don't know if we got a few seconds. When we said we started drinking at 3:30, literally we did, but
nice.
Once a month we have a company meeting and we have a meeting called Imbibe, where there are about 20 of us from very different departments come in and taste beers, everything that we've released in the past month, and all of our pilots and other things. So we drank from 3:30 to 5 and then had our company meeting from 5 to 6. So we tasted the Imperial IPA today and it's fantastic.
And I don't even know if that was the anything we tried today.
No. the clown shoes.
The clown shoes.
Hammer of the shame. 11%.
Yeah. So.
You know, we have a question here from one of our followers. Seth, I'm going to hold that for the show because I think that's a good question. So
actually, I was going to ask a question, something along those lines. Seth.
Yeah. So we've got a question about the NA. Can you guys see the chat feed on your end?
No.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it showed up there or not. So.
Okay, I can see like a private chat, but.
Yeah, it may just be on a different tab there, I think, or maybe we've set it.
Here we go.
You got it there. Okay.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that.
Which one?
With the popularity of any brews up and coming, his Harpoon considered. Do you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. Yeah, we can talk about that.
Cool. I tell you what, let's get back in it and we'll come in with some of that chit chat.
That was in my notes.
Was it in your notes? Okay,
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. Are you done? It's
Yep, just hold tight just 1 second.
Yeah.
All right, y'all, we're going to go back live.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Now, back to the Beer Guys radio show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys radio show. I want to give a quick shout out to one of our great radio affiliates, KGUM News Talk K57 570 AM in Agana, Guam. That's right, Guam.
That's right.
Yes. Catch Beer Guys Radio on KGUM every Saturday at 10 p.m. and Sunday at 7 p.m. in the local Guam time. Now let's get back to Harpoon.
Harpoon. We just opened Harpoon IPA.
We did.
A popular beer. The namesake there, Harpoon. Y'all, we have a question for you from one of our listeners, Seth House, a longtime listener, good friend of ours. And Seth did a brave thing for 2021. He went totally non-alcoholic. So he has been experimenting with the different non-alcoholic brands out there, trying those. And the popularity of NA brews, has Harpoon looked at creating a non-alcoholic beer?
As a matter of fact, we have, and we are currently in the process of developing one that we hope to be able to bring to the public at some point in 2022, hopefully, by the second quarter or so. We are actually brewing the next test batch next Monday. We've had good success, but we still need to nail it. We don't want to be another also ran. Yeah, great. It's not alcoholic. It needs to be a really good beer. And so we're fine tuning it right now.
Okay. Yeah. And that's, we've tried, I called it my doctor's orders segment. The doctor told me to chill on alcohol a little bit. I didn't have to quit, but he asked me to slow it down a little bit. So I took that as a great way to start trying some NA brews. So we've gone through, and there's definitely a few brands that set themselves apart.
Yes, for sure.
We're big fans of Athletic. We mentioned that several times. Partake makes tasty NA brews. Bravus makes tasty NA brews. I won't call them out on the show, but there's some people that shouldn't have released the beers they released just because they're non-alcoholic. And it's, You know, there's some that I taste, I'm like, oh, that's not very good. Then there's some that I've tried, I'm like, there's no way anyone can think this tastes good. You know,
Yeah,
just
that's
kind
true.
of that. But you know,
So
anyhow,
when we first decided to get into it, what's out in the market, and we sat down. You're absolutely right. You named a few that are making really, really good NAs, and there were some. The cans were about to explode. The cans. You said, you're like, who thought this was good? And that's why we want to make sure we've got a really, really good product that people want to drink if you're looking for an NA.
Sure.
Now, not to rip on them, but I think in some cases, if they themselves have not been drinking beer in some time, they may have forgotten a little bit of how it tastes. I think in order to make a good NA beer, you probably have to have recently had a beer, you know, with alcohol in it. Yes.
You know, that kind of ties in. I'm all game for trying vegan alternatives to different meats and that. Brian, totally opposed. He almost angry about it, almost mad at it. But I tried this, and the brand was called Field Roast. And they're like, you won't even be able to tell it's not meat. They've never tasted meat. I can tell you the people that made that have never tasted meat. They've been eating bags of leaves and mud, judging by the taste of that Field Roast. So if you're trying to make something just for the sake of making it and just to be able to say it's non-alcoholic, or just be able to say it's vegan meat alternative, you know, make it enjoyable. Make it something that tastes good.
Get somebody who's tasted both, even if you haven't, you know, to compare it. And you got to listen to what they say.
Get it there.
So with the non-alcoholic beer, what style are you aiming for? Is it going to be you going lager, you going IPA? What are you thinking about coming out with?
We're going after something that's going to be similar to our rec league.
Okay.
We did a Pilsner, which we thought was good, but we really think that something along the lines of rec league will make people more interested in having it. It's got a little bit more to it. You know, you've got the chia seed and the buckwheat kasha and the incredible hop nose, and that's really what we want to focus on. And then you add the drinkability to it, and hopefully we have a home run.
Sounds like a plan to me.
It sounds good to me.
So, Megan, I was going to ask you, we've talked about trends in the non-alcoholic beers and the changes in IPAs and that. Following social media, are you seeing trends? Are there things that people want, people are looking for? What are you hearing from your social media followers?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like digital marketing, I feel like TikTok is the next big thing, which as a digital marketer, I always kind of hate when a new channel comes out. It's like you have to like learn something.
Learn the new one. Yeah.
Creating TikToks actually isn't that easy. Like I feel like people like are very good at making it look effortless and easy, and it's really not. But in terms of like what I'm seeing in beer in New England, especially, I think New England IPAs are still super hot. So still seeing a lot of that. And then again, I mean, we've talked about it. The non-alc space is really growing. RTDs are really growing. And I think you're seeing a lot of breweries trying to diversify their portfolio. So they're not only just putting out beer, like you're having to put out seltzers, you're having to put out different things, even at your own tap rooms, so you can attract more people to come visit you that maybe aren't beer drinkers. Because really, I mean, breweries are becoming the bars. Like that's where people go and spend their time. So you're really seeing that kind of force breweries to force their hand to come out with different products that they maybe otherwise wouldn't have.
Right. And, you know, you mentioned the breweries becoming bars. I think it was the Wall Street Journal that had an article recently talking about they featured Brick Store Pub in there.
Oh, yeah.
And they were talking about how it's shifting, you know, because it's going. And that hurts my heart a little bit, man, because some of my favorite bars. And I'll be honest, I think I've been neglecting the relationship a little bit because I, too, usually go to the brewery tap rooms now. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Rochester, New York, and one of my favorite craft like beer bars is Tap and Mallet, and they just announced that they're closing after 14 years of business. And I think unfortunately we're going to see more of that this year because a lot of people are just going straight to the source instead of going to these craft beer bars who have curated really amazing beer lists for people, which is really sad to see for sure.
Is Genesee Rochester?
It absolutely is.
So now you'll just have to spend all your time in the Jenny tap room. And
that's right. I love Genesee. They actually, we just built a keg tree in our parking lot.
Okay. Yeah.
Level 530 kegs, and Genesee did it originally, and they actually shared their schematics with us and had an hour-long meeting with us to tell us how to do it.
That's beautiful.
So that was really cool to get to work with them on that because that's a big deal back in Rochester. So I loved being able to bring that to Boston.
I lived up in the Finger Lakes area for a while, so yeah. So we have a 6-pack of Jenny Cream Tall Boys in the beer fridge here right now. So
or
we're
we
ready to
had
go.
one. I don't
We
know if there's
had,
any
yeah.
left there. We
Well,
also
yeah.
they came out with that hazy IPA collab, didn't they?
They did. We
Genesee,
had with other half.
I've
other
seen
half of
some news
Genesee.
where they're coming out
Yeah.
with some interesting experimental things that you wouldn't expect from a company like Genesee.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Other half opened a brewery in the Rochester area, so I think that definitely opened.
That's
that
right.
up.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yep.
Mike, Al mentioned this briefly, talking about unique ingredients, and he mentioned like chia seeds and that. Everything's going into beer these days. You've got cakes and crabs and fruits
Skittles
and Skittles and all that. What are you seeing as promising ingredients coming up in the brewing world?
Like you said, there's pretty much anything and everything you can think of that's going into a beer. Recently, we're going to get into it, but the homebrew competition that we have here, we kind of throw whatever you got into a beer. Recently, we just won with a pancake beer.
Okay, there you go.
I'll talk about is
Yeah.
it was an 8%. You could call it a pastry stout, I guess. Pancake beer where we put pancakes into the mash tun. And,
Okay.
We were targeting a chocolate chip pancake beer, and it came out pretty good.
See, there you go. Yeah.
And so I think you're seeing where the trend is really that anything goes.
But to clarify, I don't think Mike is saying that pancakes are the next trend.
That's the next thing, man. The next, you heard it here first.
That's right. Pancakes.
Pancakes
The
are the next thing.
All pancake IPAs,
Yeah.
pancake hard seltzers, everything pancake. It'll all
Instead
be
of
pancake.
Randall's, you just pour the beer through a stack of pancakes.
Through a stack, a tall stack. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Short text. Yeah, that's the name of it.
Yeah, see, there you go.
He's on the label. It's great.
There you go.
Now-
There you go.
Another potential ingredient. Have you tried spaghetti? Because I think it was Martin House that came out with a beer that had spaghetti as one of the
Yeah.
ingredients. Now they said it didn't taste like spaghetti, but it was. I'm guessing they added that to the mash tun.
Boiled like the hard spaghetti and then it became soft, or did they toss in the soft spaghetti? That's what I need to know. Like,
I don't.
That's a good question.
I'm guessing if they wanted to get the full potential of it, they probably would have had to put the hard spaghetti into the brew.
We'll
Yeah.
have to have them on the show and ask them about the spaghetti situation. Yeah.
I'll be following up.
Inquiring minds. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. But outside of pancakes, anything exciting you see coming up outside of like your malts and your hops?
Yeah, one thing that we like to incorporate, especially into our league family, is like buckwheat kasha and Mediterranean sea salt, where it acts almost as an electrolyte. So when you're drinking something like Rec League, where it's low ABV, you can drink it after you go for a run or go for a hike or something like that, and that sea salt can kind of replenish anything that you might be lacking there.
Good stuff, man. Brew with everything.
Yeah.
That's what I say. You are listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We do need to take another break, but you're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We do need to take another break, but we'll be right back with more from Harpoon Brewery.
That concerns me a little bit.
I wonder if some of the non-alcoholic beers use a little of the sea salt for extra body, because I'm thinking that you do get a little presence of you get a little body, a little bit of something that can help replace the lacking of alcohol. So a little softness that might be interesting too. I don't know. I've never asked that I can recall if salt is a big component to that, or even a small component to it.
I know that I tried a non-alcoholic beer from a company called Wellbeing Brewing, and they had one that was electrolyte, and it had a saltiness to it, a brininess kind of. So I'm imagining
it makes sense. Yeah. Now
Seth. I know Seth and I have talked about that Wellbeing beer. Do you know if any of those Wellbeings have salts in them? Well, brewing salts are a thing.
Yeah,
I guess it may just be increasing the amounts in that, or
like a higher level of sodium. Just like becomes a water chemistry thing.
Just drop a salt lick in there.
Yeah, that's right.
Just go for it.
What?
Different kind of salt, but yeah,
right.
There.
Salt lick IPA.
That's right. It's the saltiest IPA you've ever had.
Yep.
That's the new hot thing. We've done everything else with IPAs. We've had lactose in them and everything. Now it's time for salty ones.
So I think we've covered most of it. We want to talk about you being in the ESOP. We want to talk about your charity partnership. Definitely want to make sure we cover that. And then we have some notes here on collaboration. So I know that's why I was trying to. We're going into the last segment. We do this every week, Brian. We get to talking, and then we've got too much stuff to talk about.
Run out of time.
It happens. Stinking radio clock. I don't mean that, radio. You've been good to us.
Yes.
I don't mean.
We
to
love
talk
you,
poorly
radio.
about
We're
you.
sorry. We don't mean it.
Yeah.
300 episodes. That's impressive.
I was
How
trying to
about
do
that?
in my head. I was like, holy shit, it's been 6 years. That's amazing.
Yeah. Going to
Yeah.
January. Interesting connection here. Bringing that, you mentioned that Clown Shoes is one of your brands. Our episode 0 was with Clown Shoes.
No.
We did a test episode because in December of 2015, they did a collaboration brew for Georgia that focused, I think it was, I want to say peach, but I felt like maybe it was orange. Like it didn't quite.
Yeah. You know what? I think it was an orange IPA.
I don't think
weird
they
thing.
had the label approved. They had to change the label because Georgia approved it.
Okay. Yeah. So that was our episode 0 was with Clown Shoes.
That's great.
Back in 2015, the Wild West of 2015. Back when you couldn't sell beer at your tap room in Georgia.
Back when you would still stand in line for beers. Well, some places they still do, but we would do it here. Yeah.
Chasing trucks for beer releases.
I haven't stood in line for beer in a long time.
No. That's what got us homebrewing. When Brian and I started homebrewing, we that would have been 2013-ish, 2012, 2013.
Yeah, in
we
that
got
range.
sick of chasing
KBS
trucks
basically.
to get like one bottle of KBS, to get one bottle of this beer, that beer. We're like, you know what? We're just going to learn to brew, and we're going to brew this. And I'll tell you this, it took us 3 years, but we brewed a Mexican Imperial Stout that we had a brewer tell us it was cloned off Mexican cake, and they said that ours may have been better than Mexican cake. So it took us 3 years to replace the beers we were chasing, but we got there.
They might not know. Westbrook, do you guys get Westbrook up there?
No, I've been to their brewery. I've had it. Yeah, Westbrook.
Okay. I was gonna say
Mexican cakes probably, even if you don't get the full line, I think.
I wasn't sure how. I know it's a big thing down here. I actually have no idea if it's bigger outside of the South or not.
Maybe I just think it's a thing.
I went to a brewery in Charleston.
In my backyard.
They were also brewing Evil Twin when I went there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. See, Evil Twin, man. So many good beers. To talk about the growth here, we were talking, Megan, about not being able to sell beer here. In 2018, Brian and I visit every brewery and brew pub in the state of Georgia, and that included 2 or 3 that weren't open yet. And I think our number, if I remember, was 85.
About 85.
And I think last count we're at 160.
Wow.
So in like 3 years, we doubled, which I know to some states that's still small potatoes, but for us, that's almost 100% growth.
Yeah,
so,
it's still pretty, and we're far from saturation at this point. So we have a lot of room to grow. We've got a lot of potential interesting things that can and will happen, in the future. So
let me see that.
It seems like the South overall is definitely growing a lot in the craft beer world, which is awesome.
Well, Warren our CFO forwarded an article to me saying Massachusetts is going to have a slow year next year with 28 brewery openings.
Slow, quiet, easy going year there.
It's like unbelievable. It's awesome. Yeah.
That would be huge for Georgia. 28 breweries. Have we ever had that many in a year?
20. I think. Well, I forget what year it was.
28, man. That'd be a very fast year for us.
Would be.
We have a couple of guys in Massachusetts. They're called the Mass Brew Bros, and they always go to all the new breweries and go to everything. I mean, they're busy because, again, 28 breweries is a slow year. So, imagine other years where they're trying to see other breweries. It's unbelievable.
Well, that's what we did it really at the best time for us to be able to get to it, because it was tough. Like the first 40 were easy because it's Atlanta Metro. Right. We could hit those. Then when we started having to travel out, we almost got killed by a tornado.
That's right.
That was fun. That was fun. So,
yeah.
But we made it to the brewery.
We did. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it was great.
Fun.
That was doable back then. I just don't even see how it would be possible. I guess if you every weekend, no, you still wouldn't have enough time. You still wouldn't.
No, it would be hard. It would be very hard.
If you want that.
It'd be a full-time job to get to all of that.
I'm getting real close to Uber o'clock over here.
It happens. It'll sneak up on you.
Nice.
Uber 30.
Exactly.
Where do you live?
In Quincy.
And then then there's the crossover from Uber to sleeping at the brewery, right?
Oh, somebody did that this weekend.
Yeah.
Names. I know.
No names. Okay. All right.
Because it was on videotape.
We had our holiday party this weekend, and somebody slept in their office. Just saying.
Well, you know what? Right. There was a correct. I won't name names, but there is a brewery here that has a room that has like 4 oversized couches in it.
Oh, we have one of those rooms. I don't know.
And that's
did not sit there. Yeah.
You show me rename
Between
the
Dan
nameless that I just said.
Yeah, between Dan and Charlie,
See?
a room with like couches.
It's like the just in case room. The just in case.
Just in case.
Yeah.
I was thinking something crazy like hammocks. Like every room should have like hooks up for a hammock, and anybody.
That is the worst idea I've ever heard for drunk people. Put them in something that swings them back and forth. So.
Okay.
I'd be in a cocoon. Yeah.
Did wrap up. That would be a messy cocoon. I'm just thinking.
I would not wake up with butterflies.
Stay inside the metamorphosis.
I'm just thinking me when I have too many. I'd love a hammock, but I don't. I'm usually not to the seasick point yet. So
yeah.
Bad ideas again.
I know.
Oh
I do.
yeah, Brian's free of
Here,
charge.
I thought this would be a great idea. Every room has some hooks in it, and everybody has a hammock. And anytime you need to, boom, you got a place to have a nap.
Keep it like an emergency bag on your back.
Exactly.
You can just hit the hook as you walk by. Boom.
Yeah.
Make it one of those ones that's on one of the springy frames that you just throw it out and it deploys itself.
Self-deploying hammock. Are you guys hearing this? Self-deploying hammocks. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, you're just talking too much. I'm gonna put up my hammock.
That's it. Put up the hammock. So find the hook and hang it. All right. Before we start falling out of our chairs here, we'll get this last segment done then.
All right.
We are this Imperial Ipa is really nice. I dig this. I like the Imperials generally more. I like the little bit boozier, the little more malt profile. That's my jam. I enjoy those.
It's gonna make you happy then.
Yeah,
Yes,
this has
it
more
does.
malt in it. It's but you don't really notice the alcohol.
It's sneaky.
It's
Yeah.
It can be dangerous.
Yeah.
What's the ABV on this one?
9%.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like my IPAs sneaky.
Okay. Yep.
All righty.
Yep. Good stuff. All right, y'all. We're gonna do this segment.
Segment 4.
Segment 4.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/beerguys. Patrons get cool perks like Beer Guys swag and commercial-free episodes. Now let's get back to Harpoon.
Harpoon, we have talked a lot about delicious beers and just all kinds of fun ingredients in that. There are a few things with your brewery, though, that I think we want to make sure to mention, some substantial items about your brewery. One being employee ownership. Your Harpoon is an ESOP. And we have a question here. This question actually comes from Marcus Serta with our Burlington, Vermont station, News Talk WVMT. And he says, what are the positive aspects of operating as an employee-owned company? And second part to that is, do the employee owners get a say in the beer flavors?
I'd say a two-part question. One of the benefits, we always had a really good culture here. Again, I've been here for 30 years, and I always thought people felt that, the brewery was part of their own. But 7 years ago, when we became an ESOP and Dan brought everybody in and we had this giant meeting where he said, look, we've sold the company, turn around and meet the owners, and it's each of you. It was a formative moment. It was really impressive and moving. And really what changed at that point was that while we were all invested, now you're literally invested. You own part of the company. So you are encouraged on a daily basis. Any improvements that you can make that will help your job and help the company move forward, you're encouraged to do. We have an ideas wall. If you guys got to get up here and take a tour.
We do. It sounds like a plan.
And if you check it out, we have this ideas wall where if you have an idea that is going to increase our efficiency or our financial well-being, you get a picture on a wall with your idea. And we've got this massive wall filled with all these ideas. So people are encouraged that you own this company, act like an owner every day and try and make it better. So I think that's been one of the great attributes of becoming an employee-owned company. As far as saying the beer, as Mike mentioned, we have this Owner's Cup homebrew contest every year. In the winter of that, and it's been him 2 years in a row.
Lame.
Which is
That's cheating. That seems like cheating. No professional brewers at the Brewers Cup.
Right.
If the name had been on it because it's done blind, I would not know. I mean, I would.
See,
It was good. It was a great beer. It was a great beer.
Yeah.
But they get to saying that, and then everyone is always encouraged. Look, if you've got an idea, we have J-Lo sends out John London. Sorry, sends out our CMO's nickname is J-Lo. Anyway, sorry.
Okay, all right, there you go.
So he asks for input from all the employees all the time on what we can do in marketing. As far as beers, I ask people to come to me all the time. We have a pilot system. Do you have an idea for a beer? We'll get it on the pilot system. We can test it out in the beer hall. We can see what people are interested in. So everyone is expected to respect the other departments. I respect what Megan does, but if I have an idea, I can give it to her.
Mhm.
She can take it or leave it, but everyone is really encouraged to take part in the company.
Yeah, and like I said, I started here 5 years ago. When I started, I had never really written my own recipe, and I had ideas for different stuff and had some different some topics to play off, whatever. And when Alan sent out an original email, one of my first emails saying like, hey, if you have something, just feel free, throw it out there. If it hits, it doesn't. If it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And there were so many times just throwing something out there, and he's like, all right, write a recipe. And I was like, oh, okay. I wasn't ready for that. Like, I was expecting that I can throw something out there and I'll, hand it off to the professionals and then they'll take care of it. And it's like, well, no, like you're doing it. If it's your idea, let me see what you got and put everything you got into it. And then rolling off of that, like it just, anytime you have an idea, say, hey, Al, have we thought about this? Have we considered doing this? And he's like, you know what, maybe we can sell 10 barrels of it up in the beer hall. If not, why don't you try it on a 20-gallon scale? So
Sure.
Go ahead and
Okay.
brew 20 gallons of it. We'll give it a taste and see what we think, and we'll go from there. It's just been such like your ideas are so encouraged here that it's completely different where anything and everything that, if you have the idea for a chocolate chip pancake stout, throw it out.
Poor Al. Poor Al.
And the next thing you know, my group partner Jason and I, we won the homebrew competition. Complete shot in the dark. And then this year we went out and repeated.
Bragging.
Okay,
Stop.
see.
You definitely have to be careful when you come up with an idea, though, because you're expected to follow up on it. Like earlier,
That's
I
it.
talked
That's
about
what.
the keg
Yeah.
crit history. You better believe I was out there dragging kegs around to get this tree set up because it was an idea that I brought to the table. If you bring an idea, you better be ready to help make it happen.
And I heard the story how that came together. That sounds like a lot of work, Megan. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I think it was 3 days that we were out there. We had we might have violated some OSHA regulations. I might have ridden up and down on a forklift.
Yes.
No video.
No regulations were violated.
Do they have regulations about stacking kegs? Because I don't even know about that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
11
Hopefully not.
kegs high, I think they might.
Yeah. I will say another funny thing about employee ownership here is that we have the cleanest office kitchen you will ever see.
Wow,
Because
that's
we
impressive.
have this whole saying, it's like our house. And no one leaves a mess in the kitchen. Because if you do, our CEO and founder, Dan Canary, will do a lap in the office, be like, who left this in the sink or who did this?
There you go.
Of all the companies I worked at, we have the cleanest employee kitchen I've ever seen in my life.
No one's coming around after you to clean up.
No.
Yeah, it's not expected.
Okay.
People know what they need to take care of.
It's like one big family, like employees are getting in a timeout for leaving their dishes.
Yeah.
Hey, man, hey, do you want to go grab some lunch with me? I can't.
I'm stuck in the car.
I'm
I gotta do the
grounded.
dishes. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Sounds like a good way to do it to me.
Yeah,
for
seriously,
sure.
it keeps things clean. So, something we need to talk about before we run out of time is your charity partnership. What's so you're partnered up with something called the Pan Mass Challenge, is that correct? And what is that?
Yeah, so the Pan Mass Challenge is a big bike race in New England that raises money for cancer research. And we've partnered with them for over 20 years and helped raise over $500,000 for that cause. And this past year, we actually put bios of 3 different riders on the back of IPA bottles. Because typically during normal years, we're able to set up a whole thing where we give beers to drinkers. Anywhere, like in Provincetown, there's like a huge party. So we weren't able to do that this year, obviously. So to celebrate the riders, we did a whole back label program, including one of our folks that works in the lab who's been riding in the PMC for like probably also 20 years. So it was a really great way to celebrate them. We look forward to being with them in person next year to have a cold IPA with them, but it's definitely a huge partnership to us that's really important.
We've also done, we do a 5-miler road race that we've been doing for 20 years as well. And we raise money for ALS, the Angel Fund, to combat, come up with a cure for ALS. And we've raised $2.5 million.
That's impressive.
Wow.
Congratulations. That's awesome. That's, you were talking about having the run, and I was talking with another brewery. A lot of people have the impression that beer drinkers just sit around. Brian and I don't make a good argument for what I'm about to say here.
We don't.
But I know breweries that do 5Ks. They do, fun runs and all this. Beer drinkers are active other than Brian and I. Active people,
I think us are guilty of running any of the races either.
See, yeah.
See, what Tim doesn't realize is I'm actually a triathlete. I just don't look
a closet triathlete.
My muscle
there.
relaxes a lot and tends to hang off my front. Yes.
I could see that, Brian.
Yeah.
I get
Yes,
it. I get it, man. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so just the point being that it's not everybody just sitting around drinking beer. I know a lot of very, very fit craft beer fans.
Yeah. And
so huge. If you came to the 5-miler, you're like, oh my God, our consumers are in really good shape.
Yeah.
Our fans, supporters. Again, I won't speak for you two, but for me, I'm not running.
No.
I'm working that day. I'm helping at the event.
Yeah.
I'm not running.
Yeah. We have an amazing run club called the Heartbreakers that we work with for years on the 5-miler, and wow, do they know how to run, and wow, do they know how to drink. That after party is something.
Now Brian and I joke before we got too embedded into beer and home brewing and doing the radio show, we were actually avid hikers. We would go hiking very regularly, and we do a 10-mile hike, and that gave us a really good excuse to have beer and chicken wings.
Exactly.
Because we just burnt 2,000-3,000 calories.
Exactly.
So it's a good trade-off there, man.
And
it's
you
a
can
good
just
trade-off.
drink about 3,000 calories. So
That's
it all works out. It just cancels each other out.
Gotta have them in there, man.
That's right.
Balance in the universe there. Absolutely. Y'all, we don't have a lot of time left. There's so much more that we could cover. Collaborations. You've got a lot of collaborations. Whistle Pig that we talked about, which we're big fans of. I think everybody knows about the Duncan.
Yes.
The Duncan collabs there. So that's kind of an institution up your way, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we were talking earlier about the Hollywood nickname and kind of razzing me on that, but that's kind of where that all originated from. Going back 4 years ago to when we first started doing the collaboration with Duncan, and we had the Duncan Coffee Porter, and it kind of came out of it was originally going to be kind of a small thing, maybe like a tap room only thing, and then we put it out there to the masses, and people just took off with it, and they were like, this makes so much sense. And it was coming up with what kind of beer do you make with Dunkin' Donuts? It's like, well, why don't we make a coffee beer? And we got to make a coffee porter. It sounds like a home run, and we've really run with it there. I mean, with it from there. I mean, you've seen the mix packs that we've done with donut beers and
jelly donut,
jelly donut, and
blueberry
maple donut, and matcha beer,
matcha IPA donut beer or something like that.
Is that it? Yeah.
Believe it or not, it's good.
Yeah.
So I'm game. I'm
Yeah.
game. Absolutely. Y'all, thank you so much for joining us. We've had a blast talking with you and sampling your beers. Yeah. Thanks for joining us on episode 300 of Beer Guys Radio.
Woo!
Congratulations.
Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, that about wraps it up for episode 300 of the Beer Guys Radio Show. Join us next week as we talk with Shiner Beer. For more craft beer info, follow us online. We are Beer Guys Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great week, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers.
Chair dancing.
Clear.
Yep.
We did it. We did it.
Show is recorded.
Thank you. We had a blast.
I don't know how that. Yeah, I don't know how we did it.
That was great.
Because in the brewer's office, I like every third word is.
That's why I asked the question. I was
You
like,
made it. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Very good. You know, and I'll have you know, we did do our duty and we did grab a dozen Dunkin' Donuts to go along with the beers. So, yes, we did.
We actually
We
have
have
a
done that.
wholesaler in Atlanta,
What'd you
Georgia
think?
Crown.
Georgia Crown
Yeah.
is amazing.
Oh,
Georgia
yeah.
Crown. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Mike wants to know,
Absolutely.
what did you think of his beers in the Dunkin'?
You know what? The only one I have personally had so far is the coffee porter. I haven't got that.
That's the one I've had. I'm aware
Did
this.
you do a pumpkin one this year?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've heard people talk about that one and enjoy it. So, but the only one I've had is a coffee porter so far.
Yeah, we did that. We did that one.
Yeah.
That was that was big news when it came out. I remember talking about it on the show, and I had to have it. So yeah.
Got to, man. You
I
got
but
to.
I have not. I know that the mix pack is available. I have not had that yet.
I
so,
haven't either.
yeah.
Nope.
It was great. Duncan put up a giant billboard, and it was like, 5 a.m. and it was Dunkin' coffee. 5 p.m. and it was the Dunkin' beer we made.
Exactly. They got you covered, man. They got you covered.
It's good to have them participating in
It
that
is.
way. You know.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, they've been
Great
a great partner.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
partnership has been
Amazing.
Yep. Y'all hang with us just a second. We're going to sign off the live feed. We'll be right back with you.
Absolutely.
Facebook, YouTube. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Seth, Steve, everyone. Thanks for your comments and joining in the chatter. 300 episodes, big milestone for us. We appreciate you very much being along for the ride, and we will see you all next week. Cheers.